GR compensation. So there are so many issues.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Kenya. It's now a few minutes to 8 o'clock. That is 7:50. Welcome to the program. Being a Wednesday, it's a Viewpoint, and on Viewpoint we talk matters socio-economic, not socio-political per se, matters socio-economic that affect you socially and economically as far as this is concerned. So today, let's talk about the issue of land acquisition and relation to the government's program agenda of the affordable housing in the country. But even that is happening in the country, the issue of land acquisition in the country remains a thorny issue. It has been something that has been happening over the years from regime to another. But today we want us to talk about the nitty-gritties and fill the gaps where land matters are concerned. We welcome your feedback, we welcome your questions and even your comments on our social media handles. You can even talk to me directly on my social media handle at Victor Oloo or at KBC Channel 1. Let's get the show on the road, and with me in studio I have got Peter Gitau, who is a director at Oloo Limited, who is going to help me to talk about this issue from A to Z. Welcome to the program, Director Peter Gitau.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for hosting me.
All right, karibu sana.
Asante.
All right, now let's start where we should.
Yeah.
We are in 2022. The year is almost coming to an end.
Sure.
I want to get your, as a taxpayer, as a Kenyan,
yes.
Have you achieved any of your wishes, your dreams, aspirations?
Well,
as an individual.
As an individual.
Yes.
Maybe, you know, every other year, individually people have their own resolutions. Mm-hmm. And personally, I can say I've not met all of my resolutions that I had set during the start of the year. But at least I have managed to get like 50% of it. Mm-hmm. Considering that in the industries that I'm in,
yes,
we are really affected by the year being an electioneering year.
Yeah.
At least it usually stagnates the economic activities, hence affecting all businesses. So I can't say that I was able to achieve, but I really thank God.
50% is rather good.
It's rather good.
Yeah, if you had a target of 100, it's a pass.
It's a pass. It's a pass.
So we can give you two that rolling into the next year.
Yeah.
We'll excuse that perhaps you can take the remaining 50.
I'm very optimistic.
Absolutely.
I'm very optimistic.
You're way better than me. I'm not around 50, but we still have so many days to go to the end of the year, so I hope I'll crack that 50% mark.
Yes.
Let's talk about land issues today. The government is rolling out the affordable housing program, which the president even talked about during Jamhuri Day celebrations,
yes,
which is quite close to the heart of the president. We talked about it here sometimes back, and now we still want to extend it a bit. We want to understand the issue of land acquisition in relation to the affordable housing. One, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
How does one go about land acquisition? I have some cash pending somewhere,
yeah,
and I have identified a piece of land that I want to acquire.
Yes.
Just A to Z steps. How does one go about it? For any person who doesn't have an idea.
Land acquisition, one, is a right for every Kenyan to own land wherever they want. And it has been a thorny issue, matters with land. Land is very emotional, I want to say.
Absolutely.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
And now to go to direct to your question, how do you acquire a piece of land? One, once you have identified a land, a parcel of land that either a company is selling, an individual is selling, the first thing that you are supposed to request from the seller is a copy of that title. Once you have acquired that copy of the title deed, you go to the land registry. That's the local land registry, because every jurisdiction has the registry. And after going to the registry, you do what we call a search. An official search. And nowadays, it is digitized. You can do it online. Using the Adisasa platform. You can log in, and you can, once you key in the details of the land, you can verify if he is the real owner, or the one who is selling to you, or the company that is selling to you is the real owner. But that one, considering how our system was corrupt and cartels were controlling land matters, it is very important you go to that very place where the land is, not inquiring from the owner, but the DD, the part of the DD, the due diligence. Look at the neighborhood. Who are the neighbors? Ask about matters of this land. Yeah. Once you have done the search, because after doing the search, you will verify if the land belongs to the government, belongs to an institution, belongs to an individual or a company or whoever. Because there are so many landowners in Kenya, and the government is the biggest landowner. And now, after verifying from the neighborhood, one, from the local chief. Do you know this person? Is he a resident of this place? Is he the one who really owns this land? And from there, even for the senior chief, is very important, because people can really even corrupt those chiefs.
Yes.
Chiefs. Yeah? And the best person to give you the information are the neighbors. Inquire from the neighbors. That's the process. Now, after that, go back to the registry, buy what we call an area map. An area map captures all the details of that area. Since now you have the aerial number or the title number, you buy the area map. And also, when you are buying the area map, buy what we call a land immutation. The one that was used to subdivide that portion. If it was during the adjudication, that is the first owners.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You will also get it. It is the first, because with the title you can see in the title we have the first page that bears the map sheet that below the area, the details of the person. The second page bears the entries. The entries shows how many transactions this land has undergone.
Yes.
You are the first or the last, or not the last, or the fifth owner, or whoever the type of the ownership. It will show you the transaction of that land. And also during that, the DD, it is important you do what called a green card search. The green card shows the detail of the transactions, the history of the land.
Yes.
That's the green card. In fact, it's the one that bears, and let it be verified and also certified by the registrar of that area. That is, this is the green card, and it is certified. Now with those documents, green card certified, and also the official search shows there is no encumbrances, that this land doesn't have any issues, it doesn't belong to it is not reserved for any government infrastructures like road reserves. You see, people usually buy even road reserves without knowing, because they didn't do the DD, the due diligence. Once you have verified that, now you can engage a lawyer in terms of entering into an agreement.
That seems to be such a long process by the time the lawyer is coming in.
Yeah, and in fact, once you have done that, you must also apply for an LCB, local control board. In the local control board, what happens? You have the DCC, we used to call them the DCs, or the DUs initially. That is the district county commissioners. He's the chairman, or the DCC is the chairman of the lands board. The chief is called, the buyer and the seller are called and sit in that board. And people ignore these processes. Yeah? You ignore such processes, because if the lands board, if the board sat and agreed and verified, because they will also do their due diligence, is this the real owner of this land? Yeah? So majority of Kenyans don't really follow that. It's tedious, but which is cheap? Is it really buying, going through this process, or is it just going without buying or committing your money without doing the DD, the due diligence? Land acquisition is a process. It's not a one-day event. In fact, you can't buy land in one day.
No.
And that people must understand. In fact, legally, land processes acquisition is a process of 90 days. For all these, after doing the due diligence,
yes,
30 days for you to complete the transaction. That's the recommended time, at least, because it gives a room if there is any issue, any person, even family members might not be willing to sell the parcel. Maybe it's Mzee who is selling without the wife or the children knowing, and that's the importance of the LCB.
Exactly.
Because now the area chief or the assistant chief, they are being called to know exactly if they have agreed as a family.
Yes, we're having this discussion because most of the times you've had people complain. You being in the industry, you've had many people complain that they were scammed in between the process.
Yeah.
You start during the a process of acquiring a piece of land.
Yes.
Then in between, along the journey, you realize that no, the piece of land that I'm trying to acquire here does not belong to person A or B. So at what particular point, from your own experience, what are some of the issues that people really face? That at the end of the day, you make 10 steps forward, and then all of a sudden you backtrack 100 steps back.
You see, matters with acquisition of land, you need to be very cautious because cartels are there and they are very smart. They can use even falsified IDs. Have you verified even the ID of the person who is selling is the one that are appearing? Those are nitty-gritty things that people really ignore.
Yeah.
That the ID number of the person who is selling is the same that is appearing on this title deed. Yeah? If it's a company, is it the certificate of incorporation? Is it the real number? Do that search. Engage a lawyer. Let him do a search for that company that is selling land to you. That verifies who are directors of this company. Yeah? When was it incorporated? You see, so many companies have been closed. And sometimes people can sell land using companies that does not exist. And you see, all of that is part of the due diligence before you commit any coin to that particular land that you want to acquire. So, and I want to thank the government. It has really taken bold steps in terms of digitizing our registry because people have been compromised. A lot of corruption has been happening at the registry. Name them across the country. Many people have been conned, and fraudsters are there, really capitalizing on the ignorance of the masses. And we are here to inform people about how are you able to verify that this land belongs to a certain entity or it belongs to an individual. Once people are empowered with the information on how to go around about verifying the owner of the land, at least we will push away these cartels out, because at least you are quite informed.
All right. But Gitau, let me ask you a question. Why do we have every electoral year, each and every politician talk about historical land injustices, more specifically in the coast region? Why?
You see, it is quite historical because during the British Empire that colonized Kenyans, there was that treaty between the British and the Sultan. Yeah? And that's why most of the Arabs own land, and they are the ones who called absentee landlords, because there was that treaty between the British and the Sultan. And you get the issue of land in coast is a thorny issue. And matters with land in coast, unless you see, a person was the one who was registered as the owner of this land. But these people, majority of them, went back to their country. But they still have those documents that they
valid
show.
titles.
Valid titles. Right. They are the real owners of the land. But we have a law that government can invoke. You see, if you have stayed in a parcel of land for 12 years without the owner coming to show up, we have a law that protects you. You can own that land, and government can transfer that land to you. So matters with absentee land laws, majority of these people are cartels who want to occupy those lands. But at least if the government can use all the legal avenues that are available, still people can own land. Yes.
You raised a very important point here. Does it mean, therefore, that when we hear people talk of, we've been squatters, we've been living here for the last 20, 30, 45 years, then all of a sudden they talk of a private developer coming and start, bringing down their structures, owning, trying to, claim ownership of that particular piece of land. So does it mean that some of these people are aware of the historical background of these pieces of land, and therefore they know that after 12 years this is what's going to happen, then they move in to force people out of those pieces of land?
The law that speaks about or talks about adverse possession.
Yes.
Adverse possession, if right now you have a big chunk of land and there are squatters, workers who are doing or you have not really employed them officially.
Right.
Because if they are employees, you can show that you can prove that they were employees.
Okay.
So you have just set aside somewhere that they can live and they are able to access, and maybe in terms of logistics, it's easy for them to work close to the farm. But if these people, you are not able to show that you had employed them, there is that law that is called the adverse possession. And if somebody stays in that parcel for 12 years, in fact, you are supposed to give them. And that's where you need maybe you compromise, compromising that either you agree for them, not giving the entire parcel, but at least you can hive some land and give them for purposes of now them starting a new life or living or owning. But there is that law. And in fact, it has affected the majority of Kenyans who are in the diaspora, who bought land, they left it just bare without a person looking after it, without any economic activity. And people come and settle because the owner is not around. They know. And majority of them, they are not ignorant, that they know there is that law that protects them if they stay there for 12 years.
But do many Kenyans really have that knowledge of that law that protects them as landowners? Based on what you've experienced?
The experience is,
yes,
majority of Kenyans doesn't know. Even those big landowners, they really don't know that there are laws that are protecting those quotas. And if at all they know, they can make mitigation factors that can really prevent these people from coming and claiming to own that land. Majority of them, I can say, from my experience, people don't know about laws of land. They don't really know about it. And it's high time that, because as the population is growing, the demand of land is there, and people are really inquiring and also trying to occupy any empty space. So it's high time for people to regularize their land issues, their land matters. If you have people who are staying in your land, it's high time you take this opportunity to make it sure that at least either you have met their demands or you have peacefully made them move from your land.
There are two types of, there are two issues here. There's a land rate and a land rent.
Yes.
What is the difference?
The land rates, in every municipality, like Nairobi County, Kiambu County, those are major, all the urban centers, we have this title called the lease title. In lease title, you're supposed to pay the land rates every year to the relevant county government. The land rents are not the land rates.
Yes.
The land rents you're supposed to pay to the national government.
To the national government?
Yes.
Okay.
To the national government. So, and these also are done on yearly basis.
Okay.
Yes.
There is this bit of land acquisition. Let me still take you back. At what particular point can one have land registered in his name or her name? At what age? The legal age of 18, 15, 16, or even 10?
Yeah, you can only register, you can only own land in Kenya once you achieve 18 years. Because the relevant documentation that you are asked or you are supposed to have is a national ID card.
Yes.
So if you don't have a national ID card, you can't own any land unless somebody holds in trust.
In trust.
In trust.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want us to talk about the issue of the government's biggest plan now. We have the issue of affordable housing. The government is focusing on 200,000 units per year.
Yes.
How does the government now, the government and private sector, come on board? At what point do you meet?
Currently, from the data, we have a deficit of 2 million units.
That's a huge number.
Very, very huge number, and the gap is big. And on every year, we have a deficit of 250 units. So, if the government is able to use through the government and also through the private partnership, if we are able now to meet 250 units per year, that means we have stopped the number of 2 million increasing. That is the deficit. We have solved the deficit, but we have not met the real gap that is there. And there are so many initiatives that the government has taken in terms of making sure at least there is that what we call affordable houses. But you see, with private sector, matters with housing, it is capital intensive. And we require a lot of money to finance this construction. And we've seen that the real estate companies, they are really growing in terms of, one, making sure people have they have subdivided land and make sure people are acquiring parcels of land. But in terms of affordable housing, you see, this one can only be achieved, one, by putting apartments. And that's how the government
is doing right now.
What the government is doing.
Yes.
And you see, putting an apartment is costly. It's a costly affair. And most of the real estate companies cannot really fit in that class. But those who have the financial muscle, they can really meet that. They are able to meet that. They are able to mobilize capital and build, and also maybe they can extend their mortgage to those who want to own homes. But where majority of companies, like now even Olive, is we are looking and targeting the middle income earners, because the majority of them, they are also increasing in number. Every other year, according to Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the class of middle income earners is also increasing. As the economy is growing, that class is also increasing. And most of them are not fitting in those maybe apartment. Because in apartment, you must at least make sure all the infrastructures, they are close to town because of that affordability, those who are able to afford. And if you can see, moving outside the Nairobi area where the population is big, you can only now target the middle income earners, where the real estate companies or private companies have really capitalized on that. Though now what we are lacking is what we call the mortgage and also the financing part of it, because the cost of financing in Kenya is also expensive. And that's why you see international companies or companies from China are able to do these huge projects compared with local companies. So, but there is that partnership that the government is also doing. I'm looking at the way they have digitized the matters at the registry, because that is the source. You know, land is one of the components.
Because for the government, first of all, to build apartments,
you need the land.
You must get land.
You must get the land.
Exactly.
And even now, the policy that the government now want to own all the old estates, at least because they are the ones which are very close to to the CBD, especially now considering Nairobi and any other city in Kenya. Those old estates, at least if government and the county government are able to acquire them and also partner now, because matters with that, the space, where are you going to construct? It matters with the space.
Exactly. And
you see, land, the cost of land within that radius I'm speaking about, it's not cheap. It's really costly.
So what is the cheapest? Government repossessing or developing the existing land under the national government? We have got different estates within Nairobi, for example.
Yes.
You say we are going to bring down these structures which were built way back in the 70s and the 60s, and then we are going to build modern apartments.
Yeah.
Or acquiring land and starting from scratch. Which is cheaper?
Okay, acquiring land, you can only acquire it where it is relatively affordable. And where relatively affordable, majority of people who can really access those areas. Now we are speaking about the satellite towns surrounding Nairobi. Name them Gong, Kiseri and Kitengera, Rongai, Roiro Juja, that cycle, or right to that extent, or Kamuru areas, those areas. We are speaking about that satellite, those satellite towns. That's where majority of the middle income earners are able to acquire land and also houses, and that's where majority of private companies have concentrated their investment, because here locally, in terms of within the town, the land is not really available. That was true. The land is not really available. The ones that are available are for the county government, and that's where now the national government had to have intervened in terms of now demolishing the old structures and coming up with apartments, as we can see here in Gara.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have a connection between the national government and the local investors or private developers? And if at all you don't, what are you doing about it? Because at the end of the day, you still talk of international investors, China coming and overcrowding the space, and you also have the capabilities. What you're lacking is the financial muscle you're talking about.
Yes. What the government have really done, even relevant county government authorities, is about now the zoning, because there are areas that was not supposed to be residential places.
Right.
Now they have accepted to have the change of use from agricultural to now residential. At least the county government has seen that because of the pressure of demand of land, of demand of houses. At least the county government are really changing their laws to accommodate now residential buildings in those areas that were marked for purely agriculture. We can see a lot of coffee plantations being uprooted in Kiambu County and other areas that were supposed to be pastoralists around maybe Kajiado County that are now turning to become residential areas. So there is that effort of county government. They have realized, yes, the land demand is high because the population is growing, and also the factor of urbanization. You see, urbanization, especially in our nation, every other year we have daily, globally, 30 million people enter into cities. That's the global. That's from the World Bank.
That's the rural urban migration.
Yes, rural urban migration. And the demand for houses will always increase because people are looking for maybe social amenities. They are looking for how they can improve on their lives, because in the rural places things are not really doing well. So people usually migrate for many factors. So considering 500 people are entering into the cities every year, that is the demand for houses.
So what is the ratio? what is the ratio, the demand ratio in terms of people coming into the city and the availability of the accommodation and the land, and people looking for places to keep up?
If you consider a unit can hold 4 people. Yes, a unit can hold 4 people.
Yes. And
every year we have 500 people who are entering into cities. That's the demand. So 4 to 500, I think it's 1 to That's why now we are getting the deficit of 250,000 units per year. That is the demand. Yeah, and that's why where we have now the deficit. If we are able to meet that demand of 250,000, because of urbanization and so many other factors that are making people to move to urban centers, that's the ratio of people, the demand, and the demand and the inflow of people to cities.
Yes,
and the demand of the housing.
We have that aspect of devolved units.
Yes.
County governments right now.
Yes.
And the whole aspect of having devolved units is just to bring services close to the people. And if you're talking about the satellite town, for example, within Nairobi,
yes,
Rongai, Kiserian, etc., etc., are you trying as private developers or even investors to go outside the counties and develop those areas? Because when you talk about rural-urban migration, a majority of people are still talking about, for me to get a job, I have to come to Nairobi. Okay? So what are you doing as private developers and even in your cycle, all right, of investors to spread into the counties to accommodate those people so that we stop the rural-urban migration and the upsurge of demand of accommodation in the cities?
You see, the demand for houses in Nairobi is not compared to any other city. The reason being, Nairobi contributes 60% to our GDP.
Right.
That means there's a lot of activities economically, and that one attracts a majority of Kenyans to come or to migrate to Nairobi. The other thing is the purchasing power. As an investor, I will look always, where do I get my return in the shortest time possible?
Yes.
The return on my investment.
You invest now,
yes. If I, right now, just to give an example, if I decide to go and target Turkana County, for example, how many people, if you look at the demographic, how many people...
You can do a resort. Or
how many people?
You can do a resort or something of that sort.
Yes. So, and that's why majority of real estate companies or private companies are targeting the big cities. That is namely Mombasa, Nairobi, Kisumu, and Nakuru.
Where there is high demand.
Where there is high demand. And at least the economic activity of that city, the economy can really support your investment, because you are looking at the number of people, at least who can afford. You see people who are earning between 50,000 and above, are able maybe to qualify for a mortgage or something that they are able to acquire a house. Yes.
What is the future of this country in terms of land ownership and, generally, from the historical background that you have, what is the future of this country looking like in the next 10 years to come, based on your statistics?
Where matters with land, recently was interacting with investors or leadership from Northeastern, because that's a new frontier, because of the lapset. If people are able, the government is able to put infrastructures in place that are able to make people not to migrate, all of them to migrate to Nairobi because of new frontiers. We are looking at, we have community land. Look at the Northeastern.
Yes.
They used to call the Northeastern province. That place is very big. And the majority of Kenyans are concentrated in a very small area. And if such lands that were communal, they are given titles to individuals and also private companies, at least they can start selling. With the community land, you can sell those community land. So, and also I'm looking at after the new constitution, there were laws that were put in place that do not encourage idle land. That is, the government is supposed to tax that idle land so that you make it economic activities to create what we call employment.
Yes.
Now, in terms of your question, how am I looking matters with land? There are issues that are affecting different counties in different ways. If you look at coastal region, their issues are different from Trans-Nzoia. Trans-Nzoia is another area with issues, matters with titles, acquisition of land, and in matters of having that legal document. Look at the Rift Valley. The one that you call the Valley. Yeah. It has also other its own issues. It matters with documentation. Look at especially Laikipia County with so many settlers there, and their leases have lapsed. So there are so many issues that are surrounding, and they are in different counties have different issues. So, but if these things can be localized, or the way the government now is taking all the data of the land in Kenya by digitizing it, I think we are heading in the right direction. Because matters with land, one, we'll be able to verify who owns land, how many acreage, and also the limitation of how many acres that one is supposed to be to own. Also, bring issues with matters with land. There are so many things with land. It's very wide. Yeah. It's very wide, and it's very
I believe
wide.
the government are aware of that, because now even with the construction of 20,000 units,
yes,
we still have issues. Even people going to court to stop this, the process of constructing of 20,000 units.
Yes.
Will the government meet this demand annually? As
no, because now we have the political goodwill.
Yes.
And the president is very much determined in delivering this, because he was also in the previous government, and they knew what they had already planned.
Where the gaps are.
Oh yeah, where the gaps are. And even for the president maintaining one of the PSs of housing, he knows already there are a lot of things that they had planned, and changing that guard was not even the best decision to do. And that's why I know he maintained that the PS. Now, the government in the long run will be able to meet this demand, because matters with litigations by people who are not really for government to achieve what it wants to achieve will always be there. But at least I know having the goodwill and matters with the registration of land, once it is settled, all of this from our research, we are seeing within the next 10 years we'll have managed to stop the gap of the housing demand. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Peter, let's take a break, and when we come back, I still want to talk about the issue of land developers and the private developers. What is the mind of the government? What's in the mind of the government? And once that is done, what would be the acquisition process be like? Can I just wake up and say, okay, there are units in location X and Y. Now I want to own an apartment, or I want to own a unit. What would the process look like if perhaps you've gone through that procedure moving forward into the future? All right, so let's take a break. When we come back, we are still talking about matters socio-economic. Today we've left politics aside kidogo too. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Now, today we are talking matters land and the acquisition, as far as the land acquisition in the country and the affordable housing is concerned. And with me today, I have got Peter Gitau, who is the director of Oloo Limited. Talk to us on our social media handles, send in your questions, and we'll try and sample them during and at the tail end of this particular broadcast. Now, the issue of ownership, the government in its wisdom, led by the president, is putting up the 200,000 units per year. Allow me to ask you this: how would the steps of acquisition be once everything is complete? In fact, our president is quite much determined in terms of making sure at least we have 250 units every other year. Quite determined, and that's why he is also encouraging the
the PPP, the private public-private partnership in this big sector of housing, because making affordable houses requires a lot of resources. They have put in place structures that can assist people to own these units. There is the National Housing Corporation. There is a National Lands Commission. That one deals with matters with land in terms of compensation, so that the government can get land where those houses can be constructed. But how do one own these houses? People have already been sending money to National Housing Corporation, so that what they are saying, from what I've gathered, is there is a lottery. You pay that lottery where you want to own a house. Like now we have like the houses in here in Pangani, and there are very few units, and the demand is very high. What they are saying, if you have been depositing money and you qualify for a mortgage, you are able to pay a mortgage, and the extension of the mortgage is for 25 years. At least once you play that ballot and you win, you are able to be allocated a certain unit in any estate. But also, you are supposed to say where your interests are, because there are so many projects that are coming up. The Mavoko, the Pangani, and also others, the Kibera, all of those units. So you are supposed to be paying to the government, the National Housing Commission, where you're supposed to be paying, so that at least you are listed as part of people who will be allocated those units. That's where you start. So those who qualify for mortgage, at least you are supposed to show you have the capacity to pay that mortgage. And for the last, I remember the last project the president launched. In fact, he's touching those who are at the low cadre. That is people who are able to pay 3,000 per unit.
Yes.
And the majority, those who are living in the slums, are able even to raise 3,000 at least per month for that unit. So if we are able to achieve that, because that's the cost of houses is very expensive. If the government is able to achieve that through giving those incentives in terms of tax rebates and other incentives in matters with taxes, at least it will encourage a majority of Kenyans will be able to own. But you must also register. You must register. You must register, because government does not know, you don't know that you don't have a roof on your top until you are able, you have registered with the National Housing Commission, which is the one that is supposed to have the data of those people who want the affordable houses, because it's not all of people who want those. There are those who still want the high-end houses.
There's a gentleman called here, and he's called himself the Facebook master. He's asking, the issue of cartels is an issue that will not be crushed. What next?
No, it will be crushed. We can't say it will not be crushed. The reason is, so I know the former CS for lands, Karonei, when he launched the Adisasa, or the digital platform in terms of doing such matters with the central registry here at Earth House, in fact, the cartels tried to clog the system, but she was undermined, and no such was being done physically. And through that, he made sure that, because there are those people who have been affected, or will be affected, definitely have been affected by digitizing this system, the lawyers and also the registrars, because that's their business. So they were part of people who are really even going to court. You remember even the former President Kenyatta, raising issues that the lawyers are not willing to allow digitization of matters with land. But once the system is fully operational, I can tell you there is nowhere the cartels will be able to hide themselves. Because at least at your comfort, during the day, during the night, you can do your own search. And also, digitizing the land registry. It is not just the ones that are owned by private. It's every other inch in this country. It will be verifiable. Who is the owner? Who really owns this? Is it the county government? Is it the national government? Is it the individuals? Is it the companies? So once that data has been loaded in that platform, I think the cartels will not have any place to hide. Yes.
Another one is ask the director there, why is it that many land companies are not honest to their customers? I think this one based on some of the issues that we've seen in the past, that people would save to have an off plan, and then all of a sudden there is under liquidity, or the company go under, and you lose your property and your savings and your investments once and for all.
It's true that we've been having that challenge in the private sector of fraudsters or companies that are not able to deliver their promises to their clients. And in housing and also in land, there are those who are not able to deliver even the title deeds that they have promised their clients. And what I want to advise our viewers is, have you done the DD? I'm speaking about the due diligence. It matters with who are these people who are selling land to you? Who are these people promising that they give you keys to a certain house which have not really started? Have you done the due diligence in terms of their capacity to honor the promise they have promised to you? And majority of companies have really failed Kenyans, especially those who are in the housing. They have really failed Kenyans. The off-plan issue is not an easy thing. If the companies have not done their calculations, it's very easy for them not to honor. Look at this scenario. We've been promised that this will be an estate of 50 people.
Yes.
And because of economics of scale, the houses will be even cheaper compared with the market rate. Definitely, if that can work, it can really bring the cost down. But what companies fail to do is, when they are selling this product, today you'll buy, there is a client who will buy in January. The other one will buy in August. But you promised the one who bought in January that the units will be ready by December. Yet, you are looking at the entire project.
Yes.
To balance that this client entered during this period and the other one during this period, is very hard for you to balance. And those who are not ready, they overpromise clients. We have seen so many, we can't name them here. We have seen so many companies that were not able to deliver. Even after starting, they had the goodwill, but they didn't do their calculations well. The other, I think the only issue with matters with those who have failed to deliver title deeds. Here is what I want to advise our clients. When you are buying land, make sure that the one who is selling you land, the title is reading their names. Because majority of companies sell land without their name, without fully acquiring it. I come to you, yes, you have a big land, 20 acres, with a value of 5 million per acre. That's 100 million, isn't it? So that's a lot of money. So and there is a certain deposit, and they agree with the owner, allow us to sell land, then we'll pay you. And if they fail to pay the owner, or to clear to the owner, definitely he will not transfer the land to that company. And that's where majority of companies have failed. But for us, as Olive Limited, we've made sure that the land that we usually sell belongs to us. We first acquire it, then we subdivide, then we sell to our clients. And that's how many of the companies, even with the goodwill, but they fail to owner in terms of issuing the title.
There's another viewer here on Twitter who calls her name Jane Mary. She says that the problem we have with local investors is because of trust. You need to up your game so that the government can do business with you. Otherwise, the international investors will always beat you in your own game.
It's not lack of trust. The trust issue is there. I accept. But you see, if companies are not able to raise the capital, especially for housing, you know, housing, and the affordable part of it, I'm calling the affordable because affordable, you can only have units in an apartment because at least you are using the same space and so many other many factors that make it affordable because it's just, they are saving on so many things. If you are doing now, using the new technologies in terms of precast, you see, it's very easy to achieve that affordable. But if the issues with local companies is the capacity. The financing cost is very expensive to us. The banking rates is very expensive to us. Looking at international banking or international investors, the rates of mortgages are very low compared to our nation and our banks. So we can't really compete with them. Because the economies have grown for so many years, so we can't really compare ourselves with them. But matters with trust, no. Do your due diligence when you are dealing with companies. I can advise you that.
I think the issue of trust is because the government tries to invest where they see there's value for money. Because at the end of the day, government works with timelines, and based on that, you know, investors who talk to financial muscle, somebody will flout billions of shillings, you know. That's how the whole game will, you know, slip off your fingers. But then now, coming back to the local market, you see, we have got people who are really yearning to invest. But then there is that bit of capital. We are told that we need to save for the future expenditure. How do you encourage someone that, yes, I want to invest in land, but I also need to save? How do you strike the balance?
You see, when we are learning economics, the issue of saving is very important because without saving, you can't invest. And this one you must purpose. You must make it deliberate that I want to save a certain percentage of my income for tomorrow. And once you have set your target that by this time I want to at least acquire a piece of land, you must have that discipline. And companies have come to also to assist people in terms of acquisition of land because they are giving payment period, maybe even up to 2 years. So looking at saving culture, of which our president have really encouraged Kenyans, even through the Hustler Fund, that there's a certain percentage that is being deducted for saving purposes, because what we lack in Kenya is that saving culture. Other nations usually save, and after saving, that's where they borrow, because their money they borrow with their very low interest rates, and they end up developing. And also cooperate or putting resources together. People feel the chairmas, if you look at, I can tell you the demographic, even as in our company, majority of people who are owning land are women. The reason is they have that saving culture. They are in chairmas, they are in these groups, they are in this group. Through those groups, they are able to save for a certain purpose. And majority of them, I can tell you that majority of women are the ones who are owning land now.
That's an interesting statistics.
Yes. Demographic, 75%. Come to our open days, you will be amazed. You will be amazed.
Some would argue that men, we have a lot to do with it. We have got a whole lot of things to do with the money. I mean, that's a story for another day.
That's a story for another day. We come and discuss it. But that's the truth, because women have this saving culture. Look at even how banks are treating women in terms of even the interest rates. They are being preferred. The insurance companies, they prefer.
Man, we need to do, we need to do better.
So we need to do better in terms of the culture. We must change our mindset in terms of how do you, and you must purpose it. Women they usually don't default when they are going for those jamas. They are being penalized, but they usually see, they start from even owning those sahanis, sufurias, and also they escalate now to owning land. So they have quite a duration that they have been cultivating this culture of saving, and at least now they are going in the right direction. So if, as men also, we have that culture, at least we can start saving purposely, because we are the heads of our families. At least we can make our families have a roof on their top by having that culture of saving.
Maybe somebody can say that we are saving through our women.
All right.
Peter Gitau, thank you so much for joining us in the show. We've talked to voters to do the land acquisition, and you've just given us, A to Z. You've taken us to class one more time. I mean, we can never stop talking about these issues. It's an issue that's affecting each and every person. And now that it's Christmas season, everybody's going back to the village to at least spend and buy that piece of land that they've been saving for. Now you have all the tidbits from the expert here, Peter Gitau, who is the director of Oloo Limited. That wraps it up for now. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, and even people who have sent their questions and comments on social media. We value your feedback. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. GMK continues after this break. Good morning.